need itself is to be able to, one of the major things I need is to be able to identify a computer, right? And the only way I can identify a computer is through an IP address, right? And there's more complicated, there's more, what's it called? There's more to what's how an IP address is formed. But this is not a networking class, so I won't go into anything like that. But just know that, oh, there's something called an IP address. Now, because I have files, let's say I have files on Butterworth's computer that I want to access. The first thing, as I said, is I need an IP address. Now, the second thing is now, okay, which file do I want to have access to? Now, I can't just have any access to any file because there's what we call ports, like PORT. So let me just go to that as well. If there anything is not clear at any point, please just like ports. Now, if you probably remember, like in Lagos now, we have more like we have these ports where stuff coming to Nigeria through using through that Lagos what's it called? You might probably know what it's called. I can't remember. What's that?
Is it not the seaport?
The seaports. Thank you. The seaports. God bless you. The name skipped my head. So now the ports, right, is still the same spelling, ports, P-O-R-T. And the port is basically like the means of entry. So so now I want to access Butterworth's computer. How do I gain access? Like which channel do I want to enter through? Right? So there are different ports on a computer. So let me just come to images here so you can see. So there are different ports on a computer, and those ports basically define which aspect of the computer you want to gain access to, right? Like we have one of for web, for example, we have 8080 or 80. So let me just use this guy for example. You can see colon 80. So we have the IP address, which is like the first 4 digits. So these first three, so IP addresses are usually between, let me just give you a bit of networking stuff. IP addresses are between, the numbers on an IP address can be between 0 and I think 255, like between 0 to 255. So what I mean is each of these numbers, right, the maximum, except the last one, 80 here, each of these can be between 0 and 255. 0 to 55, 0 to 55, 0 to, so it can be any number in between that range. However, for public computers, computers that are publicly accessible over the network, right, it usually starts with 192. So for almost every website that you have, okay, well, let me not go to website now. For almost almost every computer that has a public access, right? It has a public IP address, right? So if I want to say if I come to Google now and I say, what's my, I want you guys to do this as well over your end, but I would share the link with you. So excuse me, I came to this website and I said, what's my IP address? So you can see it's showing me 195. So 195.11.76 points, is my current, what's it called? Public IP address, right? So if anyone wants to access my computer, they can actually access my computer with this public IP address. However, I have to provide like what we call a remote connection to them. So I want you to do this just very briefly, right? I'll share you this, and don't share me your public IP address. So I don't need that, so that I don't hack. Don't worry, I can't hack anyway. So don't be scared. Butterworth, you're completely safe. Just a few moments. I'm trying to see. So sometimes my Zoom does this thing where I have to start looking for it on my computer. Just a few moments. Okay, I think you can just go to this website direct. What is my IP.com? You can try it on your system. I've dropped it in the chat as well. Has it shown you your IP address?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. So basically that is your IP address, and you can see it can show. So the location here it's showing is more like an abstract location based on like region, not the exact location. Some services can actually detect your current IP address, right? And yeah, so here you can like see what is an IP address, and it just like tells you the details as to what's an IP address itself is. It's quite more technical there. What's private IP? So there's also what we call private IP address, right? And as you can see here, it's saying more like they usually begin with 10.172 or maybe in some cases 192. There's a lot of technical jargon and the likes with all of this, but that's not where I'm going. So where I'm going itself is this guy, the 8080 guy. So in most cases, if for example, let me go back to that guy and get my IP address. Let me copy this guy. If I want to access the port I mentioned earlier, 8080 on my system. Now, I can't access 8080 at the moment. There's a reason, but I'll explain what 8080 is. 8080 is more like the generally acceptable public ports for web. So anything websites, right? It's 8080 is usually like the publicly accepted port. So the point of entry. So if it's not 8080, sometimes it will be 80. You understand? For someone like Richard that is learning JavaScript, right? I don't know if you probably started running, started doing stuff like npm run dev. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. When you run npm run, when you run the command line npm run dev, what does it show you?
Is it npm package, right?
Yeah. So when you do something like, let me just show you on my system. Let me use one random guy. Okay, so let me use this guy. If I say npm run dev, in this case, watch anyway. So if I do something like this, it will generate. So don't mind this technical jargon here, but there's something I'm trying to drive at. Yeah. This guy did not do what I want. Let me use another guy. Maybe this npm run watch dev. Okay, this one is dev. So you can see something like this. So it's telling me local, it's telling me, I don't know if you can see the screen very well. It's telling me HTTP localhost colon 5173. So I'll explain what localhost as well means. So basically, what is this part? Butterworth, based on what I explained with ports, what is this 5173 here?
This port.
Yeah, that's the port. Yeah, exactly. Now, you can see it's not showing me an IP address here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll explain that. So first, when I do that localhost and I enter this on my browser, it's showing this website or showing this sort of. So I'll explain what this localhost is. So normally when you're, let's say maybe like you're building stuff on your system, anything you want to access within your system, right? As long as it's a computer that you're trying to access within itself, it usually use an IP address that is like private, like this. 127.0.0.1, right? That's like the computer within itself, right? But when it is the computer to the general world, that's when you now say 192.0. Whatever. Now I'll explain, just apologies about that. So I'll now explain why we're now talking about ports, because how does this relate to Framer? I will explain. So now, for every single website that you're trying to access that has maybe like this ports, for example, you can't be entering, let's say, 192.0.0.0.1, because it's usually 4. You can't be entering this to access every website. Why? Because if I tell you that Butterworth, my website, instead of me saying transitionsschool.uk, for example, my website is 192.4.10.20 colon to 8080. Can you repeat what I just said? The actual IP address. Exactly. And that is why we don't use IP addresses for websites. So rather than me using an IP address to access a website, that's where we now came with a domain name. So a domain name basically is like the nickname for your website. So the website itself is residing on a server, maybe in Amazon's cloud storage, you understand? Basically, by cloud storage, I mean Like they have some set of computers that store stuff that is publicly accessible on the internet, right? Then I now have, maybe I've created my domain name. I now want to point that domain name to that IP address. So there's what we call a DNS. DNS, domain name server. Let me just. So this is basically, so what is a DNS? A domain name system or server, right? So it's basically like they said here, it's the phone book of the internet. So it basically is like, just like we have contact list on our phone, you can't remember every person's phone number. So you use a name to reference the phone number. And if you probably pay attention, you know that you can't use the same name for two different numbers. If you do, the phone will most likely tell you that there's an existing contact or that is using this particular name. You understand? So basically, that is how domain names work. It's more like the domain name is just like a reference for an IP address and a port. So don't forget, port is like the main the point of entry into that particular computer that has that IP address, and that is like the summary. So you don't just pick up domain name. So why am I talking about domain name and everything? By the time you are done with, maybe like you have your website and the likes, you need to be able to publicly put your website out. So if you remember this Framer guy, where are you? Framer, come back. If you remember this Framer guy, so let's say maybe this design. If I say publish, right? Publish. Yeah, you will see this. It's saying adorable projects. I'm sorry, adorable precinct 66 blah 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 .framer.app. So if I click on it, it's able to access this, right? So it is basically because we are what's it called? We're using a domain name here. So like framer.com is a domain name that is accessing the files that is on the server of Framer, wherever it may be residing. So for you as a person, you can't also be giving people this lengthy domain name as a professional designer or so, right? You actually have to like use a domain name for the business. And that is why you can see something like add custom domain here. So if you want to add a custom domain, right, they can give you a subdomain. I'll explain what a subdomain means. But you can also use like your own domain name. So they are saying we have to upgrade. In this case, we're not particularly upgrading, but you can use your own domain name. So what does the domain name, or how would you be able to even get a domain name in the first place? So we have lots of websites where you can get domain name. One of the websites I've always used is this guy, for example, Namecheap. Don't mind me, it's because I've been using these guys for over 6-7 years, right? You can choose to use, let's say maybe in Nigeria now, we have googlehost.com. I've also been using this guy, SmartWeb, for years as well. SmartWeb. So basically, you just go to websites like this, and there's one popular one which I don't like, unfortunately. It's GoDaddy, and the reason it's called itself is they are super expensive. They appear as though they are cheap, but eventually you're going to cough through your throat. they're going to take your money. You understand? Like, you are going to pay for whatever you are saving your first year. So you can go to a website like this and just say, oh, you want to buy a domain name. So let's say butterworthinc.com. That's the domain name you want to buy. Don't worry, I'm not buying the domain name Butterworth. So you can see they're saying this domain is available, right? And I can buy. Do you get me, Butterworth?
Yeah.
Is it that
Exactly.
cheap?
It can be this cheap, yeah. And this is how much you'll be renewing every year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So you can buy a domain name, right? So let's say, for example, you upgrade. Where's that Framer account? So let's say, for example, you upgrade to, let's say you upgrade, let's look at like their pricing plans. Oh, you have like this £4 per month, or you have this basic one, or whatever plan that you want to upgrade. Now, do you want us to upgrade and just go through this process? My only problem is I don't have a domain name that I want to buy anyway. So that's the only concern. But really, let me just take it from that aspect of, it's just you buying the domain name, right? And they will provide you basically a simple code, like it's a simple guide. Even if you can't do that, you can easily chat up, like, let's say this Namecheap guys. I just tell them you just bought a new domain name and you want to link it to maybe like your Frema website. They'll just ask you what's your C name, for example, or your A name, or whatever, any information that Frema provides you. Then you just provide it to them and they help you link it up, right? So it is that simple, you buying a domain name and also linking it to a Frema account or whatever websites that you're probably working on. Do you get that flow?
Okay.
Exactly. Do you have any question on that?
No.
Okay, so we can progress. So that's basically like it as to domain names and what's it called? And you probably like using it maybe like your Figma project or so. So that is part one. So now part two. Earlier, you saw that we have this very lengthy domain name here, this guy, right? So there's something that we call subdomain. So it's more like, let's say Butterworths. Sorry, apologies, Butterworths. I want to use some chain names for you. So you might not like the names, but just accept them temporarily. So let's say Butterworth's family name is Ajanle Koko, and she's married to a Mr. Peter. Let's say Mr. Peter's surname is Peter. So, and you don't want to drop your name. That's you, Butterworth. You don't want to drop the name Ajanle Koko. You see people do something like Butterworth Ajanle Koko dash Peters, right?
Yeah.
It's very lengthy. But you can also choose to just say, okay, I want to drop my family name and just stick to Peter. And that is almost like the relationship with this guy. So he's basically saying that this domain name, that's Adorable Presents, is a subdomain under Frema. You understand? So that's like the relationship. You can now choose to now say you want to buy your own domain name, which is butterworthinc.com. You understand? And now link it. So a subdomain is just usually like an extra domain on top of an existing domain. That's simple. That is that simple. You understand? So that is the first thing around domains. Now, the second part around domain is called a path. That was not any pun intended. So it's basically something like this. Slash. So let's say this is the domain name, or let's say Butterworth inc.com slash. So as long as it's having slash, let's say about, this is what we call a path. So path, basically, let me just type path like this. So basically what you're saying is, now you already have access to this folder on Butterworth's computer, right? Through that IP address and the path. Now, within that folder, there's maybe another folder called about, or there's a file called about.html. Are you getting the concept now? So I think for Richard, you might see some picture here with like your normal website design thing that you're learning, right? So for every domain name, there's usually like a path. So let me go to any random guy here. So let's say I want to go to host a what? So you can see, how many paths can we see here, Richard?
You're saying two. Posting
Exactly. Exactly. So Butterworth, you tell me this one for this guy. How many paths are we seeing here?
On the guy. 4.
Good. So we're having this, then this guy. So usually when it is dot something, it's usually a file, right? Usually when it is like this, it's probably called like a directory, but when it comes to domain name, we call it path. You understand? So that's like that flow in essence. So you need to understand. So now you've understood the main domain name, subdomain, you've understood path, right? So I'll be moving on to the next thing, which is basically what we call protocol. So protocol is this first guy here. Thus, why do we always call it HTTPS or HTTP? So I remember the early days when I started website design, right? We used to use just HTTP. And for us, we felt the world was secure using just HTTP. So what does HTTP mean? HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So I'll just type it out so that you get Hypertext transfer protocol. So for every, so you're trying to access something on someone's computer, right? Now, you can't just access something on my computer without me giving you access. So the access is more like a protocol, right? So because it is now a web file, like it is something that is on web. Anything web is usually more like hypertext, like it is beyond text because we're having like designs and every other thing. That's why it's hypertext. So transfer protocol, like you're transferring files that are web related over the internet. So there are other forms of protocol that we have on the internet. We have something like file transfer protocol, which is FTP. There's what we call SSH, right? SSH is usually when you want to access a computer from my own computer, but you're not using web, you're using maybe like command line. Like usually you see maybe like all these hacking movies, they will use something like SSH something like that. So there are different protocols online, but the one that is most important to us is this hypertext transfer protocol. However, I think like 5 years ago thereabouts, there started being a lot of web attacks, like people let's say maybe like I'm transferring some files from my computer to your computer. I'm picking something from Butterworth's computer to my computer. There's what we call sniffing, right? Sniffing in the sense that a third party can probably listen to the information that is being shared between two computers over the network, because the internet is not particularly safe. The internet network is not particularly safe. Anybody can listen into whatever is happening, right? So that is what now led to HTTPS. That's the one that comes with secure. So HTTPS basically encrypts the data that is being shared between my computer and your computer. So any third party cannot access it. So for you to be able to have like HTTPS, right? In most cases, you have to buy what they call like SSL. If I come to security here, you see SSL certificates, right? So SSL certificates usually like protect. So it's more like some encryption code, right? I don't know if you know what encryption mean. You can let me know if you don't. But that was Richard.
Is
Yes.
the inscription code more like a secure, should I say, network? Or a code
No. Do you know what it is, Butterworth?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So basically, encryption in this sense is, let's say I wrote Yomi, right? And I don't want Richard to know that the message I want to send to Butterworth is Yomi, right? Now, I can now, let's say, add this Yomi with some, so I can convert each of these letters. So maybe between myself and Butterworth, right? We know that when I say Y, when I say 247, I mean Y. When I say ABC, I mean O. You understand? When I say I mean M. When I say 000, I mean I. Now, you, Richard, when you see this message, it will make sense to you, would it?
No,
Because I've encrypted it. Basically, crypt, like I've hidden it, right? But for Butterworth, because we already share a common language that 247 means Y, ABC means O, ## means M, then 000 means I. She can easily convert it and understand what I wrote. That's encryption. So encryption is like a two-way system. If you use like on your WhatsApp now, when you're making calls, they will say this X is encrypted. Basically, that means a third party cannot listen in or have access to whatever you're sharing. So that's encryption in that sense. So if you probably remember secondary school days when we write love letters, Butterworth receives, Richard sends, and you now fold it and share with a friend so that that friend would just have it folded and still now pass it on to the actual source. Now you can imagine if that friend now opens it midway, right? So the reason you're actually folding it is you're trying to ensure it is an enclosed message, right? Only for the two parties involved. But by the time a third party now opens it, it's no longer secure. So you can now imagine maybe by then you now start maybe putting super glue on the letter so that the friend will not open. It's only the other person that will be able to open it. If that other person sees that it's been opened, they already know that, oh, there's a threat on our relationship. You understand? So that's like the encryption. That's what the HTTP, the S part of this HTTPS, that's what it does. It basically encrypts your data. So if you look at websites, that's why websites would usually have that padlock thing. this padlock, you can see connection is secure, and it's telling you that your information, for example, passwords or credit cards, is private when it is sent to this site. If you go to this guy too, although Chrome has made some changes, so they expect that every site is secure. But if you go to something like, where's this guy? So let me go to Transition School test. This is like a local option. So you can see I'm not using HTTPS. It's saying not secure. Why? Because there's no HTTPS. But the moment I say HTTPS, right? Although it is not secured, but yeah, it is not secured, but sort of it is quite secure because I'm using HTTPS. Now the reason it's showing not secured is because there's no valid SSL. So that is why it is showing that it is not secure. And you can see certificates not valid. You understand? So that's basically like it when it comes to domain name. So it is important that you understand this, right? Because by the time you start, let's say, oh, you want to go and buy a domain name for your clients and every other thing, and let's say you're not even now using Framer in this case, then there's going to be a problem because how would the customers of this customer be able to know that, oh, this website is truly secure? You understand? Even that first threat of saying not secure already puts people off. So you just have to watch out for that. So that's basically it on domain names and you getting domain names. So I'll move on to the next part of this conversation, which is now focused on you having to, let's say, probably make some money with Framer, right? So I think when we first started, I talked about you being able to, let's say, create your own templates and probably sell, right? That is option one. And that is if you want to sit back at home and just be making some cool cash. So how do you do that? So let me come to where are you? Let me just go to Framer themes. So first, let's even start, even before we go to you selling or buying things. Let's talk about you having clients and developing websites for clients. So I'll give you a quick background, right? Not as to I'll give you a quick background as to myself, then my experience this week. So last week, I had one of these celebs in Nigeria. Their what's it called? Their manager reached out and like, oh, we want to do a website. On top of my head, because I already know this celeb is big, I'm already calculating big money to charge in that sense. Because usually we try to charge per pocket, right? And that is typically what you can do. So I started my career as a website designer. I wanted to go into the entertainment industry. I wanted to start like a magazine company then when I was still much trying to get into uni and all. But I couldn't afford it. So I felt, okay, you know what? let me learn this HTML CSS thing because I had some knowledge in it. And let me start doing it for website for people. Let me start doing website for people. So my first charge was 6,000 naira thereabouts. And that was my first time getting that much big money at once without doing so much, right? And the second time it was 15K. Then third time, 30K, like that, started increasing and all. And so ever since then, so I started making that money and I saw that money was easily coming in. My intent initially was to gather money to do magazine business. I've not gone back to magazine business till today. I'm still looking for money. So, and why? Basically because I've been able to see a pathway, right, that provides me my daily income, right? So it's something that you yourself you can do, even here in the UK, right? I have a portfolio company. Let me just show you that briefly. CyberClick Studios. And what we do, for example, with this portfolio company itself is we get projects that are web related and we build custom websites for businesses. That's it. Right. And the way you get to charge as a person here in the UK is you charge per hour. It's not even per project in that sense. So let's say your bill for an hour work is, let's say, £20, right? And you want to do a website for, like, I showed you the NIUK community stuff, right? If let's say it's going to take you 10 hours to do, let's get the calculator. let's just say minimum 10 hours, because obviously it can't take anything less than 10 hours to do, let's say, something on Framer, for example. Obviously, they don't necessarily need to know it's Framer, except you want to let them know. So let's say you're charging, let's say, £30, and you're spending 10 hours, that's £300 for just that 10 hours. That 10 hours is not, it's probably like a day, and you're good, right? And this is like a very legit source of side income for you, for your friends, for people back at home, or anything, right? It's just as simple as you come, pick up maybe like a template if you want to make use of a template, right? Even if it's a free template, redesign it as you want, or you can just use your own creativity and design as you want, right? And publish. So you already have access to every tool that Figma has, which is basically you can create multiple pages, link them together, use what's it called? Use your nav, set it as a component so that it can reuse continuously. You can use like the CMS feature if the person wants to have a blog, right? If it's just maybe like a simple landing page, like that, and you can keep easily charge. I don't know if you see like some potentials in that before I proceed, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you access the codes to edit them if you want?
Now, that is the second part. So now, one thing about Framer, obviously, you won't be able to, because you're hosting it on Framer. It's not like you're hosting it on yourself or by yourself. You're hosting it on Framer. So you basically have access to no code, but you can actually do every form of customization that you want to do. It is left to you.
Sure.
Except for the fact that if they now tell you that what we want to do is, let's say, we want to develop a Twitter, for example, obviously you can't develop a Twitter with Framer. What you can do if you want to develop a Twitter is you have to actually write custom code, because that's a custom application. But when it comes to developing websites, blogs, portfolio projects or portfolio websites, and anything creative, you obviously can use Framer and you charge for that. Do you get me? So, for example, you, Richard, that you're working on, let's say, like your portfolio website and the likes. Oh, sorry, that I said, oh, work on 5 portfolio projects.
Yeah.
You understand? After you've worked on these 5 portfolio projects, which are code-based, right? You can now say, oh, you yourself as Richard, you want to have a personal portfolio that you're now listing all these websites. You can come and use Framer to quickly do a landing page that is like your portfolio, and it links to each of those projects separately that is hosted maybe like on Netlify or maybe on Heroku or maybe on Vercel. You understand?
Sure.
Yeah. But you wanted to ask something.
No.
Oh, okay. So do you get the perspective I was coming from as to you being able to, let's say, let me call it you owning your own creative agency or a side also, and you're able to like develop websites for people or for businesses here in the UK or even outside of the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, second step is, I don't know if any of you have probably used the likes of Fiverr.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you have used Fiverr. Oh, that's cool.
No, you
So
like
you
a
say, oh,
job.
you have not used it. Oh,
Like
cool.
freelance.
Yeah, freelance. So you could as well be a freelancer. If obviously if you're working by yourself, side hustle, it's freelancing. So last week, both of you joined that remote stuff, and you can actually be a full-time freelancer from home. So I did this when I was 7. What year was that? I can't remember. I think 2016 or so. I can't remember. When I was 7, because I was 7, I couldn't do a normal full paid employment, right? I had to look for some extra means of income. So I was really focused on Fiverr, and I made some reasonable monies with Fiverr. I got a laptop. I was able to get my apartment sorted and a few other things. And what was it I was doing? I was actually like fixing bugs. I was developing websites for people and a few other things. So you can actually get a lot of website design services here on Fiverr, and you can get done for people wherever they are. There's Fiverr, there's Upwork. You probably have heard of Upwork as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Upwork as well, you can actually, so let me just type Framer here. So these are guys that are Framer developers, right? Now, there are also jobs that are Framer related. So this is me looking for talent. Let me look for project and say Framer. So these are projects. So complete Framer landing page. How much is this? $90. 1 day delivery. So you can imagine probably like doing this a couple of times. Let's say you do this a day, and in a day okay, this is not dollars anyway, which is a bit lesser than pounds. Now the funniest thing is, okay, yeah, there's someone here, this is 100. There are some people that actually charge as much as 300, 500. You understand? Getting simple tasks done. It depends on how much jobs that you are getting to yourself. You understand? So there are loads of these guys, and if you're able to do exceptional stuff, right, you will definitely have people that are just like on like your own customers, your own set of clients that just come to you whenever it comes to anything Framer and the likes, right? So this is an opportunity that you can explore. Let me come to Framer here as well. So these guys these ones are coming place. Convert Figma. So these ones are the ones that actually, these ones are the talent. So let me see if I can. So yeah, so the way it works for what's it called? For Figma, sorry, not Figma. For Fiverr itself is once you sign up, you will see a set of people that reach out and say they want to do XYZ. Then you bid for that project. The same way it works for Upwork. But for Upwork, you can see it ahead of time, right? But for Fiverr, you have to actually sign up and see people request. Then see, there's what we call gigs. It's basically called gigs. So you can now, so basically you can now sign up and you can see access to all of those lists in essence. So that's like how it works. And you can see some of these guys charge as much as 1,240, and as low as 25 for whichever it depends. So whatever rocks your boots. So let me sort this by price, high to low. And these are people charging. So you can see 2K, 15, 12, 827, and lower like that. So the question is, what do you want to do? And this is option 2, right? So I'll move on to option 3. Now, before I move on to option 3, do you have any question?
This Fiverr and Upwork, I think it depends on how good you are.
Exactly. So the more you can charge, so the better you are, the more you can charge. It's just for every other profession. The rate I charge projects is not the rate someone that is probably just starting a web project or website design stuff would charge. It's going to be very contrasting.
Okay.
Do you get? Yeah. So that's that in essence. Do we have any other question on this? I'm assuming that's a no. So I'll move on to the next part. So the next part is basically this. So just a few moments. Where are you? Let me go back to Framer. So yeah, Framer template. So as I said, you can actually, so whether you're doing for businesses, right, where you can just come and pick up a template and use, or you yourself, you actually want to design, you want to work on some design, and you want to work on some designs and sell, it's up to you. So here you can see different like prices that some of these guys actually sell their templates. So they get designs done, right? And they make it available for people that want to use, right? And you can just sell. You can start for yourself, for example, that you're just getting started. You can actually start for as little as maybe like $10, right? And if, let's say, in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 months, you're able to get maybe 100 persons to buy your templates, right? That's a lot as to like hold together. It might not mean a lot as like one as it's coming. Now, it can be as much as 1,000. So there's this site that I joined recently. Actually, I've had an account, but I've joined as a seller as well. So I have people that do designs for me, right? And we sell. Basically, that's like a side gig that we just do. And I'll just show you some designs and how much money some of these guys are actually making with having to sell designs. So let's look at this design, for example. This guy sells for $69 and he has had how many sales? Can we see this?
Yeah.
That's just yeah.
Yeah. So this is let's assume this is just $1, for example. He has had, let's just assume this is $1. He has sold over $1 billion USD, right? Over the years. And one thing about all of these designs itself is all you probably have to do is just make quick modifications and you're good. Just quick modifications. So if you want to go full time into this, it's something you can explore as well, right? Sell designs, do the design, sell, people will reuse. You've done the design once, it's just going to be a recurring source of income for you for life. You understand? So you don't have to like, so you can, let's say, okay, maybe like, oh, you are saying that, oh, designs are evolving and the likes, oh, let me change some things in this design, then you can push out. So it's something that your 10 hours of sweat can earn you continuous money as you want. You understand? So it's a question of what routes do you want to explore. So there are a plethora of options that you can pick, which is whether maybe you just want to be doing it as one side, also sometimes you want to be a freelancer, that you be focused on having to design for businesses out there, or create templates. Once you create a template, you push out, right? And people start buying, and that's it. So those are basically like options I thought I should share as to how you, because the most important for the three of us that we are here now is we want to make money, right? So how would you be able to use the skills that you've learned to be able to, explore and do all of these things? So it is important, as I said, you have to keep practicing. You have to keep exploring. You have to keep seeing designs. So talking about seeing designs now, it now leads me to the next thing, which I'm going to talk about. How do you now see inspiration for designs? But you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question before I move on. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please ask.
Okay. Yeah, so I was asking, like, people just create designs. What is the, should I say, motivation behind creating random designs, and why, I don't know, what's the motivation of people coming across these random designs? I'm just confused because if I'm sitting here right now and just trying to probably maybe create a landing page maybe for a school and just put it up there, or I'm hoping that a school will be willing to look at my landing page and take it from me or buy it because it's sold over 900. So what's the creativity, or I don't know how I'm putting the question. I don't know if you get me.
I get you. So the answer itself is people don't have time. So they want everything fast, right? Now, this is my own account, right? And I've had this account since when? 2014 September, right? And you would see that I've bought a lot of designs.
Okay.
A whole lot of designs. So let me give you one simple secret, right? CyberClick Studios that I showed you earlier is a design that had been done by someone else. I just bought it, edited it, and I pushed out. I don't have time.
Okay, so when you buy the design, they come with the codes.
Yeah, they come with. So let's say it
like
depends
a bootstrap.
So let's say if it's a code design, for example, it comes with that code.
Okay.
Right? If it is, let's say, WordPress, it comes with like the code of the theme and every other thing. If it is Framer, it's not coming with the code in that sense, but it's coming with everything around the design. So like the Figma design and every other thing. You understand? So you just import, edit, and you're good. Change color. That's it. If you see the original design of this, you won't believe that is what I probably converted to this, because I changed, I think, my typography, my color, and that's it. And I added my own images, my text, and that's it. So people don't have time. You understand?
So if I should sell like a Framer design,
Yeah.
Is it easily linked to a backend? How are we going to link it to a backend?
So Framer doesn't have like backend. So let me explain back. Or do you understand what backend means, Butterworth?
No.
Okay, so backend basically is more like maybe you have some server where information is being stored. You understand? Then front end is basically like what people see. So backend is just like the logic and every other thing. Now, Framer doesn't have that sense of where is it? Where are you, Framer? It doesn't have that sense of backend in that sense. So there's what we call backend as a service, right? So let me come to dashboard. So let's say this guy that we were doing last week, that we were working on last week, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you notice, if you remember, we imported this form, right?
Yeah.
This form is an external service, which is loops. We can use loops. You can use FormSpark. You can use MailChimp. You can use get wait list, right? If I Google get wait, this is a service, right? So basically me linking this Framer guy, where are you? This is basically me linking this form to this get waitlist guy. So Framer by default does not support a backend. What you have to plug it in with is external tools, external softwares, right? If, for example, if you remember, we talked about, let me add a new page and let me call it blog, right? And let me insert a design. I'm trying to look for something that's blog related. Trying to see collection list. Okay, let me use collection list. Yeah, import CSV. Okay, this one is me importing CSV. Let me go to the actual CMS. Yeah, CMS. And let me add. Oh, I have to upgrade again. New item. Some sample content. So this is the most that Framer has for backend, in the sense that you can add content like block content and the likes, you understand? Let me come back. So with Framer, you can't really do much of backend things in that sense. You have to use existing tools like they have, for example, which is like the blog feature that they have, for example, right? If you now want to do anything other than this, you have to use maybe like external services, or you build your own custom platform. That is why Framer is best for like website designs, you understand, website UI front-end stuff. If you now want to plug to backend, now build your backend custom separately. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the most, as I said, is like just this collection thing, which is like you use it for blogs. Why do I go back? Oh, okay, yeah. Which you probably just use for blogs. Let me just change this guy and delete this. Name. I can choose to like redesign this if I want to redesign it. But you get that flow. The most backend itself is this CMS guy. And the CMS guy is just for your blog content, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can choose to say you don't want to use this as a blog content. You can say you want to use it as because it's basically a collection of data. So you can say you want to use it as like, like we have Transition School, for example. Although Transition School was custom built in the sense that we built this from scratch, right? So let's say we have like this courses section, right? This courses part can actually be a collection. You understand? But you'll be the one to customize the fields that you are expecting to put. So you can, you can edit fields, you understand, and add more fields and say, okay, I want, let's say, so maybe like this title can be course title. You understand? Content, let's say maybe course description. Right? You can say you want to add, let's say, image and say featured image, right? Let's say maybe like the date of the course, right? So let's say course dates. You understand? So you can also, I'm coming, okay, there's no extra field. So now we can add, let's say date of the course is 2020. Okay, O2 2024. Add image. Let me look for an image. Agile project management. Or you probably use, if you want to do any other thing, and add every course stuff, publish. Yeah. So by the time I come back here, so rather than maybe this being blog, maybe I can change it back to, let's say, courses. You understand? And so you can easily edit all of this CMS information to now reflect everything that has to do with that particular CMS. So what are you showing? You understand? Is it just the cost, the title? Is it just with the image and every other thing you get? So you can adjust collection to reflect beyond just blog. It can be, it can as well be any other thing. Maybe like you're a music person now, you want to list music and a list of music and every other thing like that. You can use it for, because it's basically collection. So collection is just like collection of data. So whether you now want to make it a blog content, post content, any other form of content, that's basically it. It's your choice. Yeah. Do we have any other question? But I was
No.
okay. So are we making sense anyway so far?
Yes.
All right. So that's basically it on that. So I was on something before I got to move from that. What was it? I think we're talking about this guy, right?
You said over here you were just telling us the
Oh yeah.
people.
So you asked the question earlier, what motivation itself it is about, like why would people do this? So usually you do templates just so that it can be reusable by anyone and anyone that feels okay. So let's say I want to start a new project, right? And let's say I'm not using Freema and the website is an HTML website. So I just click on HTML here. And what kind of website is it? Let me browse maybe like categories, or let me just show all the categories. So let's say it's Butterworth's wedding. I don't know if Butterworth's married anyway, right? Are you married? You're not? Okay, all right. So let's say she now does not have time to probably like be coming up with some concept and every other thing. So she can just be scrolling through all these designs and say, okay, I like this design. Let me preview it. And maybe I just buy this design and I just use it. I'll edit the content and that's it. But in this case, because it's HTML, she has to edit the code. But now she understands Framer. So she can go to Framer's website and just search for templates and let me say wedding. So wedding. So these are designs that are wedding focused. So you, as let's say Butterworth, if you're maybe like someone that understands stuff around, maybe like all these your friends that maybe are about getting married, you can tell them you design websites. You understand? Already create a base template and be using the template while you also sell to people. You understand? And you're making money two ways. Simple. Business don't set, and that's it. So it's all your choice. It's all your choice, basically. So now the last part, which I'm just going to talk on before we now gradually wrap everything up, will be around how do you now get inspirations for your design? So let's say you are creating a design. How do you get inspiration? Because inspiration can be a problem. Now, you are not a front-end designer that is probably like having to use Figma. You understand? You're just going straight into Figma and you don't probably want to buy templates. Maybe you're the one that wants to create templates that people can use, right? So how do you even, how do you come up with design concepts in your head? So there's what we call, there are platforms like Dribbble.com, right? So Dribbble, I have an account with Dribbble, and what I basically go and do at Dribbble itself is I go and get inspiration for designs. You understand? So let's say you want to work on, give me a random project, Butterworth, that you probably want to work on after this entire set of lessons. You said? You
I
must
don't
think
have
of
anything right now.
okay, Richard, please give me something.
Maybe school, a school website.
All right, so school. So you want to work on a school website project. I want to believe maybe Richard is already eyeing some schools. So let's say you want to work on a school website. So now it's showing me different things that are probably not related to, like, because what I want is web. It's showing me some artwork and the like. So I can just click on web design, right? So now it's showing me just stuff that is focused on school. So you can see, let's say I love this concept. I love what this guy has done. Now, copyright wise, it won't make sense that you go and pick someone's design and you just go and use it, bam, just like that. But you can pick inspiration. So last week we talked about color palettes, we talked about typography, right? So you can see how this person has been able to use some select colors. So you can choose to say, okay, I want to pick color palette from someone's design, right? Then use another design with that particular color palette. So let's say maybe I like this guy, right? I like this design, but I want to use this color palette, right? But that doesn't mean I will copy this guy, because when you are copying, nobody's against you copying designs, but copy without stealing. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Don't steal another person's design. You can use sense and copy. You understand? So don't go and copy everything and just say, oh, this is your own creative stuff. You understand? So you can look at different designs, right? And say, okay, let's say maybe this guy, for example. I like this guy. Personally, I like this guy. So you can just open up a new Framer project. And okay, let me close this guy. So let me just launch. And in most cases, we usually like save images like this. We save them on maybe like on our system, right? Let me take it to. So sometimes for me, I find it easy, maybe because of how I learned. So I open Figma on my system, right? I come and say, okay, I'm creating a new design file, right? So designs like all of these that I'm seeing online, I can now bring them into, let me just come to, I can just drag this and drag it here. So this is design option number 1. You understand? So let me look for another design. Maybe I like, or which one, Butterworth, which one do you like here? I'll keep scrolling. So when you see something like here, let me know.
Okay. Just go back.
Okay, I should go back up.
Oh no, you
Went too
come
fast.
down again.
Sorry. Okay, let me just going back up small.
Take this dark one here.
This guy,
Mm,
this guy.
yeah.
Okay, so let's pick this guy. And I save this guy too. Save image as. I've saved. Then I go to Figma. I open this other guy. Then I drag this in. Okay, good. So sometimes we have like multiple designs. You just bring them inside. If it's difficult for you to do drag like I did, you can just easily come to this. I think this guy, no, this rectangle guy, place image. So you can easily bring in any other image that you feel is good, right? So now that I've seen these two designs, so I can easily go to Framer. Obviously, I might not directly import this because it will make sense that I just import this as it is. Framer will not structure it because it's just a picture. It is not in frames like the other stuff that we did. This other one was easy to import from Framer because, excuse me, it's not a picture. It's like frames of like layers, multi-layers. So in this case, I have to design this from scratch, right? So obviously, I don't know the typography that was used, but at least I can see some colors and some layouts. Sometimes what we do is we have what we call wireframing. So wireframing is more like you create, let me just do this, let me just demo or sample. So let me just go image. So wireframing is more like, okay, what's the layout of what you want to design? Because it is important that you first mentally have like a layout structure, maybe like on your, you can pencil it down on your, maybe if you have the tab or on a paper. You understand? So with this, if you look at this, I can easily create like a wireframe. If I want to do it in Figma, I'll do that in Figma, but excuse me, usually I prefer just doing it on my paper first. Then since I'm going to do it directly in Framer, I wouldn't want to be doing multiple level of wireframing first. Then I'll now start doing designs and all those things, right? But if it were to be maybe like in Figma, I want to be doing all those, I can be doing wireframing. So you do something like this kind of sketch just to fit into what you want to design. Then based on that particular sketch, right, you can now start designing proper, adding your colors, adding your everything. So if you look at this guy, for example, where are you? So you can see this actual sketch on paper here. You can see the sketch on paper here, and eventually they converted it into a full design. Sometimes your sketch might even be finer than your eventual design. I've seen scenarios like that a lot. Yeah, so this guy, for example, now, this is like a low fidelity. So there's what we call the simple wireframe, like which is just like the sketch. Then the low fidelity, which is just like the white and black, no content yet. Then you now have the actual hi-fi, that is high fidelity, which now has all the colors and every other thing. So this is the hi-fi. You understand? This is the high fidelity and all. So as I said, do your sketch. Then from there, you can now go to Framer and start implementing your design one by one, which basically just means you're starting a new project. And once you start a new project, looking at your, let's say this guy, for example, you insert your navigation, insert basically all of those elements one after the other that way, using this design as a guide, not as the sole design that you're going to implement. Again, I repeat, don't steal designs, just copy. That's it. You can copy some concepts from this guy and copy from, let's say, this other guy. So maybe you like how the menu, this navigation menu is here, you understand? And you like how this section is. But for the top part and how the color is, you pick this guy, you pick this guy, you pick this guy, but not just pick it word for word or image for image. So that is that, for example. So you get an inspiration, you can get inspiration from Dribbble. There's another site that you can get inspiration. I think Awards, yeah, it's called Awards this. So there are loads of designs here as well that you can as well see. So let's say site of the day is this guy. Now, some of these sites can be so intimidating. That's the truth of the matter. Because you see their design and be like, who won't do this kind of thing? You understand? Because their designs can be super, super complicated. So let's go to their actual websites. Yeah, let's go to their actual website. So this is the actual website. You can imagine what you have to do to design something like this. It will take hours, like, for you to do. Or, what hours can you do this?
No.
Yet. But actually, with practice, you can actually do this because it's not something particularly much. So these are more like sections, like basically frames that they had to modify. And over time, you can get to do stuff like this. This is a frame. You can see it's not going outside of it. It's a frame. This guy too. You have to just sit down. Now, this one is a different thing. I'm sure it's someone like Richard. I would like to do stuff like this in JavaScript. So as your cursor is moving, this is moving. I don't think Framer will probably be able to do this, but at least it can do stuff close to that. So you can get inspiration from Awards, you can get inspiration from Dribbble and a couple of other sites like that. So I think it's on that note I might want to say for now, I think I'm probably good or done. But please feel free to ask any questions that you may want to ask right now and we'll attend to them.
Okay, so with Framer, one, you know, the AI, you give the AI instruction and he's built a website. Yes. Can you give further instructions to the AI after you giving the initial instruction? Because I don't think you did anything like that.
You can actually, you can. So are you talking about like
after the initial instruction on what exactly you are looking out for? Can you add more?
You can always modify. The only problem with what I notice is the fact that the once you put a prompt and it generates, right? Before you even generate, just copy that prompt, because once it generates, it will clear like what you wrote, you get. So
Okay.
you can't have access to what you had written. So to now modify. So it will be best that you have copied it somewhere. So if it doesn't match what you want, you can just copy from wherever you pasted it and now modify it and paste. You understand?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's I experienced that as well when they introduced the AI feature. I can't even see it right now. I don't know what's happening with them. Maybe they temporarily post it, but it's not here right now. You could probably see it on your own end. Yeah. Yeah. Any other question? But I was
No.
okay, you don't have any question. Okay, so do you still have any other question, Richard?
No, I was going to ask you moving items on the landing page. Maybe you want something to be on the sidebar in others, but I've answered that in my head. Basically, you
Oh,
need to
okay.
move them yourself. I was just going to ask, can we also ask the AI to move it where you want to be, like the
Okay.
different components?
Yeah, well, we can always if you probably like have like some special case or so within the week, we can, just probably like jump on a quick call and I just like show you maybe like what you need to do or something,
Okay.
so in preparation for our demo day, what I want us to work on is, I want us to actually work on a full complete like design, right? We have some designs already on this. I shared you this kit, right? I shared you this kit, and
Yes.
you have a couple of designs. So I think I love this guy, for example, this Zinda guy, right? If we want to probably like work on, someone can pick this, then another person can. Please just communicate on which one you guys are picking so that you don't do the same thing. So what you'll be doing is, work on this design. For example, right? It definitely should have, I would rather it has like these sub pages, although there's no content for these sub pages anyway. But I would rather you work on something for each of these sub pages so that
Okay.
I'll see how far you've been able to go with you being able to design stuff. As well, implement like all these sections, right? As I said, it takes practice. If you have any question, just reach out. We'll probably like quickly have I'll be able to show you how to get any of these things done. Now, the simplest thing about this itself is you can actually just pick and use Figma, like that import thing directly. But if you want to do more practice, I would recommend don't just pick. Actually, try and do each of these elements like I was trying to show you. When was it? Where is
From
that?
scratch.
Yeah, from scratch. I know Butterworth would like, no, I cannot do that in my life.
No, I'll try. I'll try.
And try, it's very important because those are the things that make you grow, right? The beauty of this is me saying, okay, I have this project and I would want maybe Butterworth or Richard to just jump on it, and I don't have time to handle stuff like that. That's the beauty for me because I can't count the number of people I've recommended gigs to. You get so that's just gonna be it. So pick a design here, work on it.
Come and mentor
If you
me.
think, you said.
I said she come and mentor me.
No problem. You can just DM me.
All right.
I'll be more than happy to like respond to any stuff you're having issues with. Like, come on. I'm free as a bird.
Thank you.
When you just start making your money, your first big salary, you have to bring it. So that
No,
that's it. So that's basically it. So I think that's been it. Has been the journey so far.
are you
Not
asking me?
bad.
You said?
I said not bad.
Not bad. Okay. So after this, I'll drop some links where you'll probably be able to share your feedback so
Okay.
far as through the entire course and everything. Mind you, this feedback would also be shared on our websites just so that people can as well see. If you probably don't mind us maybe using your picture or anything in our sharing of our feedback on our website or probably or our socials, you can let me know. We'll be more than happy to say yes to that. But I really hope I've been able to like at least guide you through the most important foundation of you getting started with Framer. And as I said, should you have any challenge, please reach out. If you also would want to probably like mentor subsequent students, because we'll be having another stuff like this by January, you can let me know. We'll be more than happy to have you as part of our mentors, guiding students around, they have certain questions around Figma, they want to work on something, they need someone to just guide them. We'll be happy to just refer them to you. And like, so you're a part of our alumni in that sense. And yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
Really
no,
appreciate
sorry, one more. I thought we're going to learn how to use, is it the Shopify and is it WordPress?
WordPress, yes.
How
So
to be able to launch
launch
sites
a
with.
WordPress site. Okay, I'm trying to see how best I can do that. But do you still have that time?
No, no. I'll
Okay.
check the recording.
Okay. Okay, you know what I'll do for that of WordPress, right? Okay, my only concern itself is you might not have the time to actually watch. That's for Richard anyway. So I'll just show you a bit about WordPress. We'll just talk about WordPress briefly. So thank you for bringing that. The intent was not to go so deep into WordPress. I'll just show you what WordPress is. So WordPress, I got to know WordPress what year? Oh man, I'm so old. I can't remember the year. But I got to use WordPress like quite some years ago. And it's part of those things I had used for my first set of websites after learning HTML, CSS. So with WordPress, you can easily build like simple websites. And also you can build as much as even customizable websites. So if you see a number of government websites or even public, what's it called? You know, even private companies and the likes, you see them use WordPress. There's a popular company, one of Tony Elumelu's companies that I know, that when I was asked to work on the project, I was even shocked that they were using WordPress because I didn't know they were using WordPress. So WordPress is like an easy to go guide when you want to work on websites. Now, there's a simple part, there's a harder part, right? The simple part is just you going to wordpress.com, create an account, and you're able to set up a website. So let me just do something simple. Yeah. Just as though it is, okay, I already have an account. So let me, the only problem is I can't remember my login details for this account. So let's try. Let me try this. Send link. It's been a long time. So let me just quickly check this. And I hope it's not here yet. Spam. Just a few minutes. Okay, yeah, it's here. So login. All right. So basically, this is like the stuff has already been set up, right? I can choose to say maybe I want to work on a new website also, but I have to upgrade also. So WordPress got popular with you having to say you want to create like a simple website that also has a blog, and that's it. But beyond that, it has expanded beyond just something like that. So let me show you what this was able to generate. I think it's 411 Niger. This was my early days. Man, I can't even remember having this website. However, there's a simpler way to like get started with WordPress doing stuff, which is basically you starting with, let me come to Namecheap, buying a domain name, right? Which I already showed you, and you're to buy a hosting account. So a hosting account is basically where your website resides, right? So when you're buying your hosting server, so it's hosting server is more like you're buying a space on these people's computer. That's basically what it means. And if you remember, I talked about IP address, domain name. So by the time, let's say I buy, I come here and they ask me, oh, what domain name do you want to use? I want to use a new domain name, or I want to use an existing domain name. In most cases, it's a new domain name. So let's use a domain name. Give me a domain name, Richard. Don't use the one you eventually use. Just give me something random. Are you there?
Yeah, I was like, cat rat.
Cat rat.
Yeah.
Okay, cat rat.
Yeah.
Cat rat most likely might not be existing, but let's see. So catrats.com is not existing, right? But catrats.fun is available. Now, the beautiful thing is they're telling you that for the first year, you don't have to pay for catrats.fun. So you can use any of these like domain names as long as it is available. But catrats.com is not available. If catrats.com is not available, you can change it. But in this case, let's just say catrats.fun. Then continue to or connect to hosting, right? So basically, this is the domain name. And every other billing and every other thing will be. So let's say add to cart. Then when you're done, you basically pay for this. And once you pay, in this case, we're not going to be paying. But once you pay for this, they will send you a mail that, oh, your hosting account is ready and XYZ. So let me log into my own personal account. Assuming that we've probably paid and all. It's just a simple case of pay and you have access. Just a few moments for me to get the verification code here. So I'll log into one of my accounts. I'm trying to see which one I can use for this purpose. Hosting list rather. Now, typically you will be able to log in from your mail. They will send you a mail with the details. But because I already have an account, that's why I'm doing all of this. So from your mail, they will give you an access to be able to go to your cPanel. That's your control panel, where you have access to setting up your WordPress and every other thing. So you have access to something like this. So let me show you what the mail usually would look like. So I have, let me just few moments. New hosting account. So I'm trying to look for I'm trying to see maybe this guy. Okay, not you. Oh yeah, it usually will look like something like this. But I'm looking for the one that is coming from Namecheap because I use Namecheap. These guys should pay me as well because I talk about them a lot. Yeah, so let's say new hosting accounts, blah blah. I can't scroll down fully because I have like credentials there. But basically, you see a button like something like this that just tells you to log in, right? So once you click on it, it automatically logs you in, or you use the login credential there, and it takes you to something like this. So basically, this is like what is called your cPanel. So with your control panel, you can do a whole lot more than just even WordPress. You can host your own custom websites. You understand? And in this sense, because you've already registered it with that domain, CatFun, so let's assume this is catfun.com, right? You can see the shared IP address. So that is the IP address of the server itself. That's a private IP. Then it has a public IP address, which is under server information, which I won't show you anyway. So you can see here, you can see WordPress, but you can as well choose to search and say WordPress. But let me say I click on WordPress here. Then under this, it will show me, or do you want to install or whatever. You can see I've installed a couple of like WordPress stuff here. And you see install time, the version of the WordPress, and options. So WordPress usually comes in different versions, right? And the reason it comes in different versions is there's always updates. So you can imagine if there's updates and they just push the updates and everybody receives the updates and you're not ready for that update, right? It will most likely maybe crash your website or change everything that is on your website. So they will always give that opportunity for you to just choose what version you want. Unlike Framer, where you just work with whatever is there, right? And as I said, with WordPress, you can do much more than just like basic designs. However, you have templates that you can work with. So let's say we want to install something new. In this case, I'm trying to see any of these domain names I can work with because I've used a lot of domain names here. Just a few moments. I have lots of domain names. Let me see if I can use this guy. Just a few moments. I could have done it directly on, okay, just a few seconds. Okay, good. So I could have done it directly on my main domain name, but I have a website there, and I don't want this session to scatter my business website, right? So I'm using this subdomain. If you remember, we talked about subdomain. So it's also asking me, what's the protocol? Is it HTTPS or HTTP? Then also, is it HTTP www dots or HTTP? So usually I just use what they have. And you can see it's telling me a trusted certificate was not found because basically the HTTPS is not safe or so. Then you can choose to install it in a particular directory, just like that path thing that we talked about. So maybe do you want it in, let's say, ajuliwa.cyberclickstudios.com slash, let's say, in this case, Richard. So why do we use directories sometimes? So let's say you already have your landing page using Framer, right? But you now want some custom design, but you don't want it on the main website. So you want it maybe under, like we have like about, contacts, etc, like that. So you can choose to have it maybe in a particular direction. Let's say Richard. You can see now, they can choose whatever version you want, right? It's asking me details about the admin and every other thing. So for WordPress, you have to specify what's the site's name. So let's say Richard website. What should be your website description, Richard?
Footballing blog.
Oh, right. So this is the admin username. So let's say Richard. And password, I'm just going to say Richard 123 at. Let me just have it this way. Then admin email, what's the admin email? So I will just use my personal email for this purpose. They're asking some other information here. Usually I skip, except for this last guy, basically so that I can have details of the installation, because what if I forget password and a few other things? And once all of that is done, I just click on install. The set password strength must be greater than 80. So in this case, let me just copy this and paste twice. It should be more than enough. So now it is installing. So that is basically how we install WordPress. That's simple. Now, once it is done, it will show me the information to be able to access my website. So this is the website. Your WordPress has been installed at this guy. And this is basically the website, Richard website. You can see, very simple website, no wahala, right? Then if I want to access the admin, I click on the second link. Now, automatically, it's signed me in, right?
Yeah.
But I can choose to like log out. So let me log out here. Sorry. Let me log out. Right. So if I want to log in again, I have to come to maybe adeluwa.cyberclickstudios.com/Richard/WP-admin. It's usually with WP-admin. Then what's the username? Richard. Then the password. Sorry. Yeah. Remember me. Then login. So I'm trying to log in now. And so basically it's telling me, welcome to WordPress, blah, 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 blah. You can just see all of this summary here. So I'll show you the basic things here. Butterworth, are you still with us? Is there a problem if you're not? So we have the sections, right? We have posts, media, pages, comments, appearance, plugins, users, tools, settings, performance, and that's it. So it's as simple as this. Posts is basically where you manage, like if you notice in Framer, we had this CMS part where you were adding maybe stuff around like your blog content.
Yeah.
So it is under post. If I come to all posts, right, you see one single post. So let me say I come to Richard's website, for example. It has this landing page. Yeah, so this is the blog here. This is the blog content. Hello, Richard. So this has been automatically installed. You can see sample comments and it's just that demo, right? So you can choose to delete this. So you see edit, quick edits, trash, purge from cache. So cache is basically more like a temporary stored version of the last version of your website or content in that sense. So the reason we have cache is so that if maybe like there's internet issue or something, at least the user is able to see something, you understand? And it also helps aid your website speed. So it's not every time that someone is loading your website that is always pulling data. it can already store something temporarily on their system or their website, I'm sorry, or on their phone, you understand, that they can easily access. So let's say we want to create a new post, right? The easiest way you can do that is it's just going to load up that now. All right, so it's just, so what's the title of your, so let's say Arsenal buys, who is Arsenal buying?
Mbappe.
Mbappe. I don't know how to spell his name, Mbappe, right? Okay.
Double P.
So, is this the spelling? Or double P?
Double P, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you had the content. So last week, something happened. And like that. If you want to add an image, add image, upload. So it's actually quite easy to use in the sense of usage. So let me just use this, right? And if you want to probably like do some editing around this, right, you can probably make like maximum width, full width, none, if you don't want any of all of those. You can add an alternative text that in case this image is not showing, what should it show? Then any other thing that you want to do, expand on click. If a user clicks on it, what happens? You can also add, like, if you want to probably like some filter to the image, you can see all those. Yeah, it's just basically for you to experiment. Do you want a border? You can add border. If you don't want border, if you want radius, how should it be? Circle, all of those things. Then once you're done, publish. Right now it's publishing. So let me copy this or view posts, basically to take me to that post itself. So this is the post. So if I come to Richard's website, right, you remember we scrolled down.
Yeah.
Right. This is it here.
Okay.
Now that now leads me to the second thing, which is, let me come back to the admin dashboard. You notice something around uncategorized here. Let me go back home so that it will show you. If you notice, it was saying something around Richard in uncategorized.
Yeah.
So basically what that is saying is that we have a section here, categories, right? So you can set categories for your content. Usually what I usually do is I just come here, edit this guy and change it to maybe like general. That's for me. For you, it might be different. Oops. Yeah, so updates. So I've changed this guy to general. If I come here, it will change directly to Richard in general. So you can add your category. So let's say Ruby, is it Robbie, right? I mean, how do they spell this?
Don't worry about the spelling.
I'm not a football guy. So let's say what other category?
We can just say sports.
Okay, sports. If you don't set your slug, it will generate the slug by itself, right? And it's just gonna, yeah, sports has been created. So if I want to create a new post, I can just come to new post, right? And it will just, so let's say Ronaldo buys a club, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's add whatever text, some text, yeah, and publish in this case. So publishing, and once I refresh this page, you can see it here. So now you can see, okay, so this one was in general. So we can actually change that, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the sidebar. So visibility, that means it's public. That means everyone can see it. You can choose to make it private. You can make it private, password protected. It's all about your choice. So category, what category do you want this to be? I don't want it in general. I want it maybe in sports and rugby. Rugby, yeah. So let me refresh here. And you can see it's in sports, it's in rugby, right? So that's basically like you creating posts. So let's move to the next guy. And also I've talked about category. So WordPress is quite simple. We have tags, and tag is basically like extra tag that you probably add to your content. So let's say this this Ronaldo guy now. I want to edit it and I want to add tags to that particular post. So tags are more like, okay, this post is about this. And that same tag can be for as many posts as you want. So tags, right? there's no tag already. So let's say Ronaldo is a tag. Let's say football is a
Yeah.
tag, right? So if I have another content that is probably related to, so let's say like this hello world now is, let's say is I add a tag for football, right? Let me just edit it. And I say under tags, I say football, right? And I update. So let's view this guy again. So you can see the football, right? If I click on football, it will show me every post that has that football tag. That's basically it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing now that we'll move on to is like media. So media is basically where you upload or manage your pictures, videos, and every other thing. So you can always click on add new media and upload. So I'm not going to go deep into that, right? But I'll go to pages. And pages is basically where you edit each of your pages. So, you know, like we have about, home, and all those things. So
Yeah.
here we have this sample page. So let me edit it, right? And it will show me. So if you look at the sample page, if I want to preview it, this is a sample page, right? So I can actually modify whatever content I want in this, just the same way it is for posts, is the same way it is for here. So the only difference itself is pages are pages in the sense of, you know, SEO wise, search engine optimization wise, it ranks higher than anything that has to do with like posts. You understand? So pages are usually like about, home, contact us, and a few other things like that. So I won't go so deep into that. Then we also have like this section, comments. So comments is basically where you like manage comments by user. So if you remember that first post that we saw, let me come to this guy, that hello world. If you don't, maybe like someone posted a comment and you don't like it, you can just go to that comment section and just delete it. Or if maybe your enemy just comes and just type something that you don't like, just go and delete it. Who are you? That kind of thing. So you can manage those comments. This WordPress comments, you can see it here. And there's a section where you can actually set, okay, which ones you want to approve. So if I want to unapprove this guy now and I refresh here, it will show. You can see exactly. So then now we have appearance. So appearance is like part of the major guys. So how do you want your website to look? That's basically what appearance is about. So you can choose to come to a website like this guy, Theme Forest, and buy WordPress themes. Like if you notice my stuff, right, under downloads, I have some themes. So you can actually buy a lot of themes here, right, that you can use. Going back to, also you can actually search for installed themes or add a new theme. So when you're adding a new theme, it will show you whether you want to upload a theme that you probably bought from like these other sites. So when you buy from a site like this, they will give you a downloadable theme. So let me come here, downloads, and let's say Eduma, this guy now, WordPress template. So let me download it. Some of these things I bought, I never use them. That's how crazy it is. Because you have some clients that maybe after you finish the project, they just tell you that, oh, I don't like this. Then you have to rework on it, that kind of thing. So usually your theme will come with like a zip folder, right? So if, for example, I'm using, so before I even use like a bot theme, so let's use maybe like any of these, their own themes that is free, right? So I can, we're just trying to preview different themes here. So maybe I like this guy. And because we're working on a blog, let me just click on install, right? It's installing and activate. That's the thing. You just have to activate it. So once I activate, the theme has been installed. So the next thing is, let me view the website. This is it. So you can see those content.
Okay, that's cool.
So I don't really have to do so much. You can see all the sections that came with the theme. Now, you can see the pages, right? Sample page, home, like that, like that. So if it is something that I bought a theme, I can just click add a new theme, then come to upload, choose, then I can select that theme I bought, right? So let me do this and install now. Then I'll wait a bit for it to actually process, because it's basically uploading the file. So let's just wait a bit. Waiting. Now, also for everything, there's what we call customize, customizer. So we have the section customize. Let me just right click. So you can actually customize that particular theme based on the functionalities that come with that theme. So if it doesn't have, so you can see site identity, you can change the site identity. If you want to add your logo, you can add your logo here, right? Header options. So one thing about WordPress is your theme actually will define how you modify, because some themes, they won't come with this customizing feature. They will come with their own way of customizing. So you have to always read the documentation for the themes, any templates that you buy. You understand? You have to actually read the documentation. So there's a section for, like this one, it has feature slider banner section. So like a slider like this. You understand? So if maybe like you have pictures in your content and every other thing, you can easily like add picture and it will show in this content slider. And that is based on just this theme, not even general themes. So that other guy is done installing. So the next thing is activate. So let's activate and let's see what happens. And some themes, you see them come with their own set of menus. So this menu options I can see here, it's not limited to this, it can be more. Okay. So now it has said it has installed, install and activate. Now it might ask me for a code because I bought the theme and they want to be very sure that, okay, maybe it's the right person that's actually, let me just try and skip all of this. Let me skip. So ahead. So this is the, let me, can I go back? So they showed me something around, what's it called? Whether I want to activate the theme. If I want to activate in the sense that there's a reference code that comes with the theme if I want to use it, right? Okay. But in this case, we're not doing that. So now it's taking me to basically plugins. So I don't want to jump. So I'll show you what plugins mean. But before that, you can see this part, this Eduma was not here before.
Yes.
Now it has added it because of the theme that came. So as I said, every theme has their own way of editing. So you have to pay attention and read their documentation. For me, most of the time, I don't even bother reading documentation again because I've done this for over 10 years. So there's really nothing new they want to show me that I don't understand. You understand? But if you're just starting, please read documentation. It's very important. So the next thing I'll show you before I do this guy is plugins. So plugins are more like third-party stuff that has been built to help you with your WordPress sites. You understand? So these are things that do not come with WordPress by default. So you have to now add. So maybe like you want to add a plugin that captures maybe. So let's just Google search WordPress plugins. Now, in a lot of cases, customers have different requests, right? So you have to check whether there's a plugin that fits into their particular request. So with your WordPress, you can do some backend stuff, but it's not every backend stuff you can do. So when you're now maybe like developing a feature or something for a customer, you have to be sure that, oh, okay, this will be able to work for this customer, that will be able to work for that customer, especially if the plugin is available. You get. So in this case, let's say the customer wants like Twitter feeds to show, right? There's a plugin for that. You don't have to build it. You understand? So you don't have to download this. Just copy the name, right? And just go back to WordPress. Let me just close some of these guys. Let's go back to WordPress and you can just easily install that particular plugin. So for you to install a plugin, you just have to come to add new plugin. If you've downloaded, you'll be able to upload, right? There's a section for that. That's this upload plugin. If you've not downloaded, you can just come and search here. I need to show you that particular plugin that you're looking for. So this is that plugin, that one that we just saw now. And if I click on install now, the next thing after this, it will show me activate. Now, again, you have to read the documentation on how to use this. You get. So if I activate now, then I have to go through. And now for plugins, I read documentation. But for themes, I usually don't read documentation because plugins are different. Also, another thing is you also always have to remember to update your plugins, because if you don't update your plugins or your themes, you're susceptible to threats like security threats and the likes. So it is important that you do that. So that's basically it on plugin. Users is basically where you manage all the users. on your WordPress site. So if you want to add a new user, you can add someone new, give them role maybe as an admin or just someone that is just in charge of content. So limit them as you want. There are some other sections like tools. So one thing about tools is you can use it for importing data, exporting data. So let's say you want to move at this stage, you most likely will not need anything like tools. So you use stuff like tools to maybe like you want to transfer data from one WordPress site to another WordPress site. You understand? Then there's also, I think they just recently introduced export personal data, import personal data. So if maybe like you want to import some stuff around your users, you understand, you can probably do that as well. Settings. So settings is basically like where you do like every other general settings on your website. So we have like, if you want to change your website's name, your tagline, don't really edit this guy unless you really know what you're doing. This WordPress address URL, site URL, because once you change them, it means that you've probably like changed your domain name. So what if you've not changed your domain name? You just come and change it. And there's a lot of configuration that you have to do that there. So read the documentation on how to do that. Or you can change your email address, right? You can say anyone can register on your website if you want people to be registering, right? Create subscriber. I'm sorry, like when someone registers, what is their default role? Don't go and add every person that registers at, or else they will take over your website. Then, you know, time zone, your date format, and a few other things. So the other thing itself is writing. So writing, I usually don't edit this, but again, you can say you want to change your default post category from maybe general to maybe every post that you create should be maybe sports. You understand? This I usually don't edit it. For some themes, actually have like style for each of all of this, but I usually don't edit it. Then for these other guys, I leave them as it is. I leave them as it is. Reading. So there's only one setting that I usually do in reading. One major, not only. So now, if you look at like this guy, if you come to your website, this is what you're seeing. This guy is what you're seeing on your homepage. This is showing like this because we have changed the theme, right? So if you don't want this guy to be the first thing that people see, you can change and say your first page that people see is this sample page, for example, or any other page that you create. Now, let me save this and refresh. So you can see sample page is the first thing that users will see. So you can always choose to say, okay, it should only show your latest post only. Then also for your post, how many blog posts should it show at a time? You understand? This part is more of what we call RSS, but it's a bit, I don't know, have you heard of RSS before?
I've heard it, but I don't know what it is.
So RSS is basically if you want third parties to be able to access your blog content, not your general website content, your blog content. That's basically how they have access to it. So and it's not illegal, it is legal, right? So how many content do you want them to see at the time? That's basically what this means, right? So like your websites now, if I do this and I say RSS like this, you should probably should exactly. So this is if anyone comes to uses this link to access your website, they'll be able to see your content with this, but basically content that you've made public. So you can see that Ronaldo buys a club here, and you can see the link. You can see maybe if there's any comments and also information about that particular stuff. So it's just basically how people have access to your content if you want to make that public. And we have some other, so just once you just read up all of this. So this other part is basically search engine visibility. Do you want search engines like Google to have access to your website? If you don't, you can just discourage. You understand? And that's it. We have the section for discussion. And discussion is basically, it has a lot of settings. So now you go set everything you want. You understand? The same thing with media, permalinks, privacy, and like that. Now that plugin that we installed, you can see it is here now. So for every plugin that you install, it also has its own settings, which you can always come and like make modifications on. And it's basically your own preference. You understand? So that's like the simplest thing about WordPress. WordPress is simple. Is you. What do you want? You understand? Then you make out of WordPress whatever you want. So now let's go back to this guy, this Eduma guy that we did earlier. So now when you buy templates, right, there's something you saw that you wanted like it's basically what you saw that you want to implement on your website, right? Now, if you don't go through, if the website doesn't give you all of those things, right, you'll be frustrated at having to replicate. So earlier now, for example, we saw that Eduma guy. Let me go to Eduma. So let me click on Eduma. I want my website to basically look like this, simple, no stress. I just want my website to look like, let me say, one of their demos. So let me say I want my website to look like this. Now, the reason I bought the template is basically because I don't want to be stressing to be customizing all of this, right? So in order to save that stress, every theme that you buy or templates that you buy, it usually come with what is called like a demo content, like this one. So it is important that when you've probably like installed your theme, right, that you import your demo content so that you don't have to go through that stress of redesigning. So I can select so you can see all those designs that came with this guy. You know, earlier I clicked on demo and it showed me, when I clicked on demo here, it showed me all of these demos. And so let's say maybe it is any of this guy that I like. So let's say it's this first guy, right? So it's just for me to say, when I come to this guy here, I can just say this demo main install. But the only problem is it's saying that it's only available to registered users. So I have to use there's a link they would have provided me, which is basically on, let me go back here. Which is basically like this license code stuff here, right? So it's just for me to use on this site that is the license code. So you can see purchase code, personal token, this one is optional. Then I submit. But in this case, I don't want to do that because that theme is for a particular website which is already existing. So what we can do in this case is we can come back to appearance themes and look for another design and we use, right? So add theme, and what kind of theme would you want us to try?
Anyone?
Keyword.
Let's take the second one.
The second guy, activates. So you can always search for themes if you want. So I've done activate. And if we come to Richard's website, so basically this is it. So you can see those contents here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for you, you can now come to customize, right? And change most of all these things around. So basically, when it is like the default WordPress themes that you don't have to go and look for, you can easily come to customize and change some of these things. If you want to change your logo, you can change your logo here. Let me just try and do something like, I don't think I have any logo per se. Let me look for mentor, remote day, for example. Now this is, now it can take, okay, so this is for this upper part, this icon up here that you can see. So it's trying to get, okay, which favor, is basically called favor icon. So which one do I want to use? So let's say I want this guy. So crop image. So on the top of the website, it will have that RE, and that's that. So homepage settings. What should display on the homepage? Is it my latest post or static page, like we discussed earlier? So if it is a static page, it should show this. If it is my latest post, it should show only my latest post. And I think for this particular theme, it doesn't have so much settings. So let me go back and let me go back to the dashboard. Appearance. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can edit here. So there's one last thing I think I've not shown you, and that is, so under pages, let's say you have like new pages that you want to add. So let's say add a new page. Hello. Let's say about us. You add any information and image and all those things, right? Let me publish this. Publish. Right? Let me refresh. I think these guys have added, I've made a modification on navigation. Settings tools. Obviously not you. Let me come to customize, because there's a section where you can actually modify the navigation links. View page. That's this navigation link. Okay, yeah, it's automatically added. So for this particular thing, it's automatically added. But for some themes, it might not automatically add. So I'm trying to look for a theme that would provide us more options as to what you can edit, not just what they've provided. So let's add a new theme, and let's say business. Let's look for a business theme. I hope we're able to get something. So let's say this guy, install. Activate. All right, so I've installed, I've activated. Let's view the website. Let's see what it looks like. So this is this guy that we just brought in now. So you can see it came with its content and everything. So it's left for us to, okay, how do we edit all of this? So let's come to all pages and see if it's actually brought in its own pages. Let's see. So it really didn't bring in pages. So the next thing, so that's why I said documentation is very important, because some of these themes, right, they can drive you crazy, because you start looking for it like, okay, where do I edit stuff? So this one is still showing this. Trying to see appearance, nothing here. Let's look for appearance. I don't want to think it's editor, because editor is where code is, and obviously I wouldn't want you. Oh, so that means they've changed it. So navigation, let's see. So navigation is where that menu thing. I was looking for the navigation thing earlier. So navigation, so about us. So you can actually edit, let's say this guy, for example. So you can see when I'm moving my cursor, it's giving me options to. So let's say, welcome to Richard. You can change this content if you want. If you don't want it bold, you can change, basically as you want. Change this image if you want to change to your maybe wedding picture, change all of this information. It's basically like more like drag and drop, just like we have it in Figma. You get, so it's basically up to you to modify it to whatever you want to modify it to. So styles, you can also edit your styles. They will show some couple of designs, and this is basically based on this theme. It's basically what came. So you can see I'm changing this, and it's based on you. So the pages that you have, they're showing like the pages that came by default. You can add a new page if you want to. For this section, there's some stuff you can actually, I think, yeah, you can change this number, yeah. This menu as well, you can actually modify it to suit your taste. So as I said, it's more like Figma, right? But it provides you more control. The question is, which option do you explore? WordPress or Framer, rather, not Figma? It's up to you. Which one that you think works best for your current solution? So if you want to do stuff around portfolio, if you want to do stuff around, let's say, stuff that doesn't really need too much backend stuff, right? Use Framer. Okay. If you think you need a number of backend stuff, like even with Framer, you can still do. So I think at this point, right, what you can do with Framer, you can almost do with WordPress. The only difference itself is there are certain custom things that you probably can build by yourself. So let's say you're a PHP developer, for example. If you're a PHP developer, you can actually develop your own custom plugin and use it with WordPress. There's like this stuff that we saw earlier, this guy, this course guy. This is a complete suite learning LMS, basically. It's a complete suite LMS. You can't have a complete suite LMS with Framer. Do you know what an LMS is?
No.
Okay, so a learning management system. So like when you were in school, for example, or even maybe school here in the UK, you probably see like stuff like Student Portal and all those. With WordPress, you can have there are plugins that have Student Portal features, but you can't have that with Framer. So there's more dynamism to WordPress than Framer. You understand? But when it comes to design look, like in terms of look, you can do a lot of customization with Framer, way more than WordPress. If you want to do customization by yourself with WordPress, you have to write lines of code. You have no option except you buy a theme. Although yes, now they allow some of this drag and drop thing, which is very important or good, but you can't compare the flexibility with that of Framer. So it's basically a thing of which one of these two guys would you prefer to use, and that's it. I've done websites for clients that that are on WordPress and they are like solid, amazing. So let me give you an example. So for example, you almost might not believe that this particular site was done with WordPress. Just a few moments. Loading.
This site.
Yeah, it's loading. It's loading. This image part is here. So this basically is done with WordPress.
Okay.
It's done with WordPress. You understand? And you can see they're easily managing their upcoming events and a few other things. They imported a video and a few other things. Why? How? With WordPress. So it's left for you. Whatever you think rocks your boat, and that's it.
All right.
So you
Okay.
can check out ThemeForest so that you see some of like the themes, the plugins, and every other thing that actually, let me show you like this B theme is one of the most popular guys out there. Let me preview. So you see, there are a lot of design templates that have been done with WordPress using this plugin, for example. Let me just look for one random. Okay, let's say this guy, for example. So this is this is a design. This is a design done with WordPress. So it's left for you, or left to you rather, whatever you feel you want to do, it's left to you. So I think that's basically it. Another thing I think I forgot is with WordPress, you can also set up an e-commerce store. Yeah, that one is even the easiest. So let me just quickly do one and we'll use that to wrap up. So let's say I want to convert all of this to an e-commerce store. It's just all a plugin, right? And the plugin is called WooCommerce. So I believe you probably have seen this video of a guy that said that you can create a complete e-commerce website in 30 minutes.
I've seen a couple of people advertising those kind of stuff on
Okay. Well, so you can actually create an e-commerce store in 30 minutes anyway with WordPress. You definitely cannot do that with Freema.
Okay.
And you can integrate with the likes of Stripe. You can integrate with Paystack and a few other things. So someone like Butterworth now, she probably can set up her own e-commerce store. So I'm activating this. Yep. So I've activated, and you can see WooCommerce here, products, payments, blah, 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 and a few other things. So with WooCommerce, so let me come to Richard's website. You probably might not see anything store related and the likes yet. However, let me come to settings. I want to just show you. There's I think it's /store. I'm trying to remember. Products. Let me just try this. Okay, it's not /store. Okay, shop. It's shop. Hey, I mean, what am I typing? Okay, yeah. So basically, you already have like a shop under your website. So it's left for you to add products. So you can come to add new products, add whatever thing you want to add to your products, and that's it. It's that simple. So let's say jersey. Add whatever stuff you want to add. Let me look for an image of a jersey. Images. Let me say this guy. Save as. So you can say everything about your product. What type of product is it? Simple product grouped. You again have to read the documentation on this. So what's the price? There's a $20. Then there's a section for the product image, actually. Okay, yeah, product image. Upload. set product image, publish. So if I come back to store, I should actually see my item on the store. See, and I can come here, click on this, right? It will show me the product information, add to cart, right? And view cart. So basically, I think I added to carts now. I think I added to carts. Yeah, okay, let me just say 3 carts to carts. Okay, yeah, it's in cart already. I've been added to cart, view carts. Oh yeah, okay. I think there's a problem with most likely theme related. So let me come to you said?
Not linked it to
Yeah,
that.
so there's something probably related to the theme itself. So let me go to appearance and use the default WooCommerce theme because WooCommerce also has its own theme itself. Let me just search WooCommerce. It has its own theme. Excuse me. Trying to see which one. So you can see any of these stores design that you probably want, you understand, and just use. So this one looks like a bit like that AliExpress, Jumia design, sort of. So let me probably use this guy. Activate. Activate. So there's a lot of options as to what you can do with your WordPress site, which is not like Framer, which is a bit limited. So you can see now, this is what is showing here is basically your post, like on the home page, right? But if I come and search for products, it will search against product, so you can see. So let's add to cart and see what happens in this case. Added, except these guys have a bug problem. Supposed to be my cart. Why is it saying my cart is empty? Okay, so let me try something. WooCommerce settings. I want to see maybe there's a settings problem here. It shouldn't be. Everything actually seems right. So there's another thing I'll show you now. If you notice, it's showing me this theme recommends the following plugins. So for most themes, they will probably like show you that, oh, you have to install XYZ plugin because the default, by default, come with them. So you can just click on begin installing themes, right? And just select everything, bulk action, install, and apply. So it will install all of those themes for you by default. Yeah, so you can see it's installing. So basically, as I said, read the theme documentation because it would tell you a lot. It said there has been a critical error with this website. So there's a problem, most likely with WooCommerce. And those are some challenges we face sometimes because.
So if people could make this website easily, why are people still designing like, so let's say custom website from scratch? Or is it because there's security?
There are different aspects to that. So first, right, the aspect of some businesses might just want their own thing, right? That's one aspect. The second aspect itself is you might want some customizations that these platforms might not offer. You understand? So in that case, you might have to build your own custom thing. The third part, like you said, security is part of it. So usually those 3 things, either you probably just want your own thing, second, security, third, you have custom features and the likes that you want to do, and probably fourth, flexibility, because some stuff might not even give you so much flexibility as you want. I've remembered that like one of the first set of projects I worked on for a client, there were some features the man really wanted and it was really on my neck. I had to custom build that particular plugin for him. So you can imagine if I had built the entire website, it would have probably been better. But it all depends on the scenario. Again, it depends on your clients, it depends on you, on what you want and all those things. I'm trying to see. Oh, I see what the problem is. I think the WooCommerce version actually is a problem. The WooCommerce version is a problem. But basically, that's just it. I think I wouldn't want to go further than that. But
Yeah, I
with
think
WooCommerce, once you
I've gotten
yeah. Yeah, so that's basically it. I don't know if you have any question.
So basically, should I say the same process is almost similar to Shopify?
Yeah, sort of similar to Shopify. Although I didn't mention I'll show you anything on Shopify. Shopify is even it's something just like saying we signed up on Framer. You can just go and sign up on
Yeah.
on Shopify website. The only difference for WordPress itself is if you want to use the free version, open free version, right? It can't give you the access to be doing a lot of customizations like this.
Okay.
Right. That's the WordPress.com. But if you want to do a lot of customizations, you have to buy your own domain name and hosting account. Then within that, after you've now installed WordPress within it, you can now do a lot of customization as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
it. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. So I think that's basically it. So if you have any other further question or so, you can always like just drop a message. For the next few weeks, we'll still have the group open, just in case you have questions and all. And that's it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll get to talk much later.
Okay, no worries.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
So you put the assignment on the page, right? So
Yeah,
I would
sure.
clear on what we have to do.
Sure.
Okay, sure. No worries. Thank you very much.